Something that God's been teaching me a lot recently, in like the last 6 weeks, is that I have to wait and listen. I can't do everything by myself. In fact, I can do nothing by myself. For the last 3 years, as I've been finishing or doing my undergrad work, all I wanted was to go to grad school and get a PhD. Like, I just wanted to be a doctorate, and I was on that track. And all of the plans that I was trying to make weren't falling into place. Everything was really mixed up, and it didn't feel right. I just didn't have a peace about anything. And I was trying to make something happen that I wanted. And when it came down to it, it wasn't, obviously now, it wasn't what God wanted. And when I finally stopped and said basically, okay, God, what do you want? Everything fell perfectly. I got a school, and I got an apartment, and I got a job, and I got all of these things that it just was handed to me. Just as soon as I was willing to let Him control my life instead of me control my life, everything fell perfectly. And part of what's amazing about that in my mind is that I know that that doesn't always happen. The thing that's been the hardest in my life isn't usually the external things of finding a job. In this case, it was difficult when I wasn't listening to find the school, but those aren't the things that are the really hard stuff. The hard thing for me is learning how to trust Him, because I can do it better than He can. I know my life, and I know myself, and I know what I can do. So of course I can control it. In my mind, the hard thing is realizing, no, I can't. Realizing I need You to take my life, and learning how to let Him.
The biggest thing that God's been teaching us over the last few months is just to have faith in His plan when it doesn't seem like it's going to happen, it's going to work out. Michael and I have always had the desire to adopt children, but we never knew exactly how it was going to look. And when we had our son, Michael Paul, we kind of went from there, deciding if we would have another child of our own first, or if we would adopt. And so probably at the beginning of this year, I was actually reading a book called Crazy Love by Francis Chan, and in the book, he just challenges Christians to live out their faith and to do something crazy for Jesus. So through that time, just kind of was praying about our response to what I read in the book, and God just revealed to me that we were to adopt, and we were to pursue a foster care adoption. And what that is just adopting kids who are currently in the state foster care system, who tend to be a little older and are less likely to be adopted.
I'd read the same book as Katie, and the question that really just made me start to think about all this, the question was asked, like, what are you doing right now that requires faith? And I think that just kind of hit me in the face, and so I didn't know what to do about it. And like Katie had said, we were really interested in adoption, but I just never thought it would become a reality. And so Katie brought it up, and I was kind of scared, to say the least, but what's really been neat is that as much as I've been scared, I think there's even more excitement. There's excitement because I don't know like what's going to happen next. Like, I don't know how many kids we're going to get. It's really fun, like when you're telling people that we're adopting, is we get to tell them we're adopting kids, that we're not just adopting one. And then the questions start to come. Why are you doing that? You don't want to have any more kids of your own? And it's been weird because it's hokey in a way to say it, but like we don't know what's next. We don't know how many kids we're going to have. We don't know how many kids we're going to adopt. But it's so exciting to know right now that we're trying to do what we believe God's called us to.
Through the process, it's just been one faith exercise after another. Just God showing us things, and especially in January, we just started thinking about how to make it possible for me to be a stay-at-home mom. I've worked as a nurse for the last 4 years, and it just always seemed like there was no way for me to stay home. And we stopped and realized through talking about it that we just never thought to stop and to ask God to make it happen. We didn't involve him. We just thought, well, realistically, this isn't going to work. And so we're just going to continue on the way we are, juggling, two full-time jobs in the family.
I really didn't think there's any way it could work. And now we see that there's no question it can work. It's going to work out more than enough. We're going to lose some pleasures maybe, or some things that we think we need but we really just want. And I just chuckle because I think about my basic cable. And I mean, that sounds so dumb, but I think I don't get to watch sports anymore. And that sounds so cheesy, but like that's something that we just were like, is this really that important? But like as we begin to see more and more of what God's called us to do, like we've constantly learned like what is a priority, and that there's no place I'd rather be than trying to do what God's called us to for this time in our lives. And it's definitely something I've never experienced. It's definitely something that I've never prayed so much. That God has really just broken our hearts to pray for kids. Like we don't know who they are, but God's broken our hearts to pray for them, like to begin to save money for them, to prepare for them. It's really just changed our day-to-day, and it's just made us more dependent than ever on God. I think it's strengthened our marriage. That I don't know when the kids come, but I do know that we can say already that our marriage, our family, our funds, like all those things, like they're in a better place now. They're in better shape. It's all in better shape because we began to step out and do some things that would require faith.